Most people hear Viking warmth and, you know, immediately think of roaring fires and endless wood cutting. That picture is comforting, sure, but actually wrong. In much of the Viking world, forests were sparse, winters were long, and hauling fuel was, well, dangerous or impossible for months at a time. If heat depended on constant burning, entire settlements would have, honestly, just frozen. What actually kept Viking families alive was a building system that treated heat as a resource to be trapped, stored, and reused. Once you understand how it worked, you begin to realize this was not primitive living at all. It was disciplined thermal engineering born from necessity. Why the Viking approach began with refusing to waste even the smallest amount of warmth. Vikings understood something modern houses routinely ignore. Heat loss kills faster than lack of heat production. Their first priority was not making more warmth, but really preventing existing warmth from escaping. Every human body, every cooked meal, every animal in the household produced heat. The question was how to keep it inside long enough to matter. You know, this principle can be applied immediately today by identifying where heat escapes your home. Drafts around doors, thin walls, uninsulated floors, and excessive ceiling height waste warmth faster than any heater can replace it. The Viking solution was not technology, but structure. How Viking homes used the earth itself as a constant heat source. Many Viking longhouses were partially sunken into the ground. This was deliberate. Soil maintains a relatively stable temperature throughout the year. You know, warmer than the winter air and cooler than the summer heat. By lowering floors and anchoring walls into earth, Vikings reduced temperature swings dramatically. To apply this principle now, even small changes help. Berming soil against exterior walls, insulating foundations properly, or creating semi-subterranean rooms can stabilize indoor temperatures. Root cellars, earth-sheltered workshops, and lower-level sleeping spaces all benefit from this ancient method. Why Viking walls were built thick, heavy, and layered instead of thin and fast. Viking walls were massive by modern standards. Timber frames were packed tightly with turf, moss, clay, straw, and sometimes animal hair. Turf walls were especially effective. Grass roots trapped air, while damp soil blocked wind entirely. These walls absorbed heat during the day and released it slowly at night. This mattered because wind is a greater enemy than cold air alone. A still cold space is survivable. A drafty one is not. Modern homes can copy this by focusing on dense insulation, sealing air gaps, and using breathable materials that stop airflow without trapping moisture. How sunlight was captured and stored even in harsh northern winters. Viking builders paid close attention to orientation. Entrances and living areas were positioned to receive low winter sunlight. Dark floors, stone hearths, and heavy walls absorbed this solar warmth and held it long after the sun disappeared. This method still works, even today. Identify where winter sunlight enters your home and, place thermal mass there intentionally. Stone tiles, brick walls, clay plaster, or even large containers of water can absorb daytime warmth and release it slowly overnight. The Vikings, well, they treated sunlight as fuel they did not have to gather. Why were animals integrated into the heating system rather than kept separate? In many Viking settlements, livestock were housed in attached structures or sometimes even beneath living spaces. The animal's body heat rose through thick wooden floors and walls, warming the human living areas above. This system worked constantly, especially at night when temperatures dropped. While most people will not keep animals indoors, the lesson remains valuable. Heat-producing activities should be centralized and shared. Kitchens, compost systems, greenhouses, and mechanical rooms can be positioned so their warmth benefits nearby living spaces instead of being vented outdoors. How Viking hearths stored heat instead of wasting it. When Vikings did use fire, they used it strategically. Hearths were built low and wide, often surrounded by stone. Fires burned hot and short, transferring energy into stone rather than filling the room with smoke and escaping heat. Once the fire died, the stone continued radiating warmth for hours. This is the same principle behind masonry heaters and rocket mass heaters today. One intense, controlled burn can outperform hours of inefficient heating. Even placing stone benches or thick masonry near a heat source dramatically improves heat retention. Why low ceilings and compact rooms were essential to warmth. Viking homes were not tall or spacious. Ceilings were low, rooms were compact, and unused space was minimized. Warm air stayed where people lived and slept. There was no wasted volume to heat. Applying this now means zoning your living space. Heat the rooms you use, lower ceilings where possible, and reduce vertical air loss. Curtains, room dividers, and sleeping alcoves all help keep warmth concentrated. How controlled ventilation kept homes livable without bleeding heat away. Despite their insulation, Viking homes were never sealed completely. Smoke holes and carefully managed airflow allowed moisture and stale air to escape slowly. Warm air exited at the highest point, while fresh air entered lower down, creating gentle circulation without rapid heat loss. Modern homes often fail here by either sealing too tightly or venting too aggressively. Passive ventilation systems that move air slowly preserve warmth while maintaining healthy indoor conditions, exactly as Viking builders intended. Why this Viking method still matters in a modern world. Vikings did not survive harsh winters by burning more fuel. They survived by wasting none. Their homes were systems of conservation, built with materials that worked with natural laws instead of fighting them. In a time of rising energy costs and fragile infrastructure, this knowledge is not historical trivia. It is practical resilience. If you value forgotten wisdom that still works, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom. Share this with someone who cares about self-reliance and help keep these lessons alive. The past still has something to teach those willing to learn.